Hey, it's Russell Hotels going live just for a couple minutes. You guys know how I do it. Today is Monday, so happy Monday to everybody. It is actually Monday, April 7th. Hope you guys are doing well. As you can see, this is, you know what? This is a Tiffany English Monday. Okay, so every Monday I do the daily check-in, right? But I do it with Tiffany, right? So this is a new thing, right? So every Monday we're gonna have Tiffany on, and she's gonna come on and talk about, what the heck she's been doing and what's going on with her, cause she got a lot. She be having a lot going on sometimes. Okay, so and she was just out of town. She was just doing a trip, and she'll let us know exactly, who she is, what's the name of her company, and what trip that she, you know, um, experienced last week. I wasn't there, so it's all on her, 100% on her. So she need to tell me what's going on. So anyway, what's going on, Tiffany?
Hey, happy Monday.
Yes,
I
happy
love
Monday.
it. It's the
So
Tiffany. You put my government name out.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's what it's all about, right? In fact, let me switch. I'm gonna switch my
First,
screen.
last name.
Yeah. So okay. So what's going on? So how was your? You had a trip on? I think it was last. I don't know, Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday that you went on this trip.
Yeah, we don't have to get specific, right? Just in case, people don't need to know when I'm exactly out of town, right?
We
I keep
don't
it
need
mysterious.
specific. Well, you're back home. I would take wherever the heck that is, right? So I don't think that's gonna be a problem. But anyway, tell people what's
Uh,
the name of your company again and what do you do before we get into that.
yeah, Tiffany English of Velvetstyle Event Marketing. So I'm an event strategist, an event marketer, and I help people use events as a marketing strategy. So I am helping secure venues, doing the planning, any logistics that they have for their B2B events, conferences, meetings, and retreats.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so just real quick, we are live on LinkedIn, live on YouTube. The comments are open, but I hate to say this, but the comments are open real time on YouTube, not on LinkedIn. I mean, you can make comments on LinkedIn, but it won't show up on my screen. I can't put your comments on my screen in real time. But you can make the comments, and I'll go back into LinkedIn later and then respond to any comments you may have. But YouTube, follow me on my YouTube channel, Russell of Hotels, and you can do it real time right now, and I'll put your comments on the screen. So anyway, but you were out of town last week. You took your talents on the road, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be a busy month of traveling. So yep, first trip of April. I was invited to the Dominican Republic Trade Show. I wanted to say it correctly.
Okay.
And basically to showcase properties from the Dominican Republic for, to use for any events or conference spaces, retreats. And actually, so this was their third year doing this show. And I think I got invited because I just happened to know someone good because the show was geared towards travel professionals and travel agents. And so when I got there, I saw that they were looking to really reach out to, people doing a lot of vacation travel. And when I, told them that I was a meeting professional, it worked out as well. But I just thought it was interesting that I kind of, was able to get an invite. But yeah, it was, I want to say, I'm trying to think how many properties, maybe 50.
Okay.
Um, well, not all properties. 50 hotels, DMCs, any type of vendors that would be doing business in the Dominican Republic. And the trade show itself was very produced well. They brought out the press. They did a big production. They had, lighting. The entire hotel was wrapped in Dominican Republic branding.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was, oh, sorry, the show was in Miami at the Marriott, no, JW Marriott Marquis, downtown Miami.
Okay.
And Visit Miami was there. So it was a very well produced show in the hotel. There was a lot of people involved in it. And, obviously it was my first time there, so I didn't know what to expect. But what I will say is, I highly recommend that other destinations should do shows like that to really showcase their destination, because I learned so much, just being involved with the people that were, part of Dominican Republic, because all I knew was Punta Cana. and, and the Dominican is much more than Punta Cana. So, yeah, it was a well produced show, I think. I was glad to get the invites. It was great to really hear about all these four diamond resorts and hotels. And I thought they did a good job.
Okay, very good, very good. Any takeaways? I mean, are there any hotels or resorts that you would definitely use? I mean, could you use any of them? Let's just put it like that, based on your clientele and things like that, because we always know what our clients want, right? What our clients' hot
Right.
buttons are, or what they look for in a destination, or even in a specifically a hotel. So just knowing that we know that, what were there any hotels that stick out that would be a good fit for some of the programs that you put on?
I think so. And what I liked is that a lot of there were some chains there
Okay.
that worked, so I was able to see their catalog of properties. There was Milia there. There was obviously Marriott, a lot of Marriott brands. There were there's the Hard Rock Hotel that's there. There was a Four Diamond. I think it's called Costa Mesa. There were several properties that made sense. What I really liked is the representatives from the properties were really eager to talk about their destination. So it was either whether it was Punta Cana, whether it was Puerto Plata, whether it was Cap Cana, which I had never heard of before, but now I want to go. And Cap Cana is, a great destination that's only 15 minutes from the airport, which for me is something that I ask when I'm talking about international properties. How far is it from the airport? Because some clients do not want to travel 2 hours to get to their destination, even though there are some really great properties 2 hours away.
Mhm.
But a lot of times that takes time into, the agenda and, people's travel needs. So that's an important question that I always ask. And I like the fact that there was quite a few really good properties that were within 20 minutes from the airport. I asked about adults only locations. So there was a few that were adults only. Because, especially if you're putting together an incentive program that has meetings, you just don't want to, maneuver around the families there. So that's important to know what the vibe of the resort is. So there were quite a few adults only properties. If they weren't adult only, they had adults only sections. And a lot of things, there's one, I want to say, trend. I don't know how long this trend has been going on, but I'm hearing more about it. Is these hotels within a hotel?
Okay.
They're kind of. Are you familiar? Kind of like those little coves or caskets where they have, it's a separate property, but it's still on a bigger property,
Yeah.
and they have their own separate check-in, their own, separate pools. They could go and, maneuver around the entire resort, but others can't come into that space. And I find that that's Aerobastar is doing something called um, the Joya, I think. I'm gonna have to fact check myself, but they have several properties. There are these small, maybe they're, I don't know, 50 hotels, or I mean, I'm sorry, 50 rooms
Okay.
within a bigger
Bigger
property
property.
that are
Okay.
just, and those are great because you can kind of buy out those spaces. If you had a corporate group and you had 50 rooms, you can all be in that space and be together, and no one gets lost or trying to figure out where they're going. So and for me, I think that's a cool, interesting trend. I don't know if you've been hearing more about that as well.
Kind of, sort of, a little bit of that. Yeah, I mean, there's even, what is it? In Vegas. I know there's not a resort like in Punta Cana, or the DR, but what is it? the Caesar's Palace has Nobu inside. Nobu is inside the Caesar's Palace.
I didn't know that.
Of course you didn't, because that's what I just told you. So there you go.
I
So
know, right now I know.
so yeah, so there's hotels like that that
Yeah,
do exist, and it makes sense. I mean, it's gives that exclusivity, and they have access to everything,
yeah,
but but just the other people don't have access to there. So that's
yeah.
always a good thing. That's always good. And the buyout, I never thought about that, but to buy out that, for a smaller group, I think that would be ideal. Let me just ask you this though, real quick. So, do you think, okay, this was the DR, Dominican Republic, being represented in a ballroom space in Miami? Do you think that took away from the destination at all by not
Well, I
being by
mean,
not being there?
oh, absolutely. In a perfect world, you'd want to experience the destination you're talking about. However, because there were so many different properties, I mean, think about it. You have, 50 properties representing the DR, and they are going to be at this Marriott. So either way, you're not going to experience, everything, because you're still, whether you're going to be in DR or not, you're still in a hotel. So the whole point of the event was meeting, having these conversations and these relationships with hotel suppliers.
Okay.
Now, I will say it would have been great to tackle on a fam trip after we got that information and got to tour it, because they were painting such a great picture of the country and giving so many great stats that we never knew about. So, my vote would be, of course, let's go experience DR. But I understand for this particular event, I think it did the job.
Now, were there opportunities to maybe sign up for a fam trip afterwards, or in the future for a future
You
event?
know what? Here is hoping. So I did get a follow-up email that said, sign up for our program and get updated for, upcoming fam trips. So I think that is the plan, and I'm hoping to be, on that list. But like I said, this is a new show that they're doing. It's only been the third year. They're still working out what best way how to promote the Dominican Republic. But I'm hoping I get to go and really, make use of that information that I got and actually see it firsthand.
Okay, okay, very good, very good. I like this. So, okay, so we do these all the time, right? We do things like this all the time. So, was it comparable to some of the things that we've done in the past?
Okay, Russell, let me tell you. Let me break it down. I told you all the good, right? Let me break it down.
Okay.
And so I had to take the weekend to really process it,
Give me the
because there
tea.
were a lot of
Is there
things.
some tea? There's some tea you want to tell me?
Let me tell you, let me tell you. No, but let me tell you, I had to process it, because when I was experiencing it, I was like, what is going on? But let me tell you, because like you said, you weren't there. There were so many. There was planners, there was travel people, there were so many people that were not from the U.S. Everybody was from different countries. I had a small group, and I think I knew two other people from, past events. And there was a small group of us that were Americans. That to me was surprising. I was not expecting that. A lot of them were from, I was talking with someone from Brazil, obviously a lot of people from DR, all over the country. So it was an international trade show that I had no idea that I was attending. And because of that, they do business differently than us. They're more laid back. So, like you said, we do a lot of these shows. We're used to a certain way of going to each appointment. Russell, there was no time clock. You got to your appointment when you got to your appointment. Sometimes somebody was at your appointment. You had to fight your way through. People were taking their time. There was no urgency. That's a key when I notice when I go out of the country. The lack of urgency. Yes.
Okay, so let me hold on. I'm trying to process this now. So you're saying
Yeah.
that you had an appointment. Do you have an appointment sheet? Let's just start from there. Do you have an appointment
Yes.
sheet? Okay. Did it have times on there
Oh,
or no
wait.
time?
Okay. No. Let me back up. There was an app. And I did print my own, but you know how you get your own, when you check in? Nah, it wasn't like that. You had to print your own or use the app.
Okay. Okay.
Well, you know
Okay.
my struggle. You know my struggle, right? So I was like,
Yes.
oh, let me pull this app up.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, but there were times though. There were times on the either the app or if you print it out, were there times on there?
Yes. Okay, you know what? And I'll even back it up. When I started to, when you go and sign up and pick your appointments, they didn't tell you how many appointments you need to make. You just did whatever you wanted to do between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. I didn't know if I was supposed to fill in my whole day. I didn't know if there was a lunch break. I didn't know anything. So, you know me, I was like, well, I'm not going to do the first appointment in the morning. I'm going to wait
Of
till 9 o'clock.
Of course, because you don't get out. You don't get out of your room till about damn near 10 anyway. So anyway, okay.
See? So maybe this does work out for me. They were looking out for me. They say, you know what? You do you.
Yeah, maybe so. So okay, so you
But to
wow.
your point, there were times, there were 20-minute appointments. And so if you got to your appointment at 9 o'clock, somebody else might have been at your appointment.
So they talked to
Not
both of
only
you at the
that,
same time. So they talked to. There was no one on ones then.
no, they just kept talking until you're like, hey, I got an appointment. And then not only that, Russell, not only that, none of the tables were numbered. So you just had to go around the room and find your appointment. The stress I had.
Well, then
The stress I
alphabetical
had.
order at least.
No, no,
Or just
no, no.
randomly in the
It
room.
was randomly. I was trying to figure out the order. Is it high end over here? Is it 3-star over here? No, there was no rhyme or reason, and it drove me crazy.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
It
that
drove
would
me
be.
crazy. So you would just circle the room, circle the room, circle the room, and then you found your appointment. And there was no time clock on the wall. You know how we get the 12 minutes on the time, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah, yeah,
looking.
yeah.
So the presenters had no awareness of time, so they were just doing their presentation, until they were done.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yes,
crazy.
yes.
So for people that are
And mind
listening,
you,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
mind you, there were people that didn't make any appointments, so they were trying to walk in. So if they saw an empty seat, they would just sit down.
Okay. So I guess that's the difference between event planner, an event for event planners or meeting planners or hotel site selection versus for travel agents.
Yes, but I would take it further as into the way business is being done in DR, because it was a very casual, here in the US, we have systems where, here we follow the rules, this is this and that. A lot of them knew each other, so they were hugging, they weren't talking about business. They're very, we talk about relationships, but they take it one step further. They hang out with each other. They know, they like, hey, how's your mom? So the conversations weren't about business, and therefore the time wasn't strict. We come in there with an intention of, we got 20 minutes. Tell me what you need to tell me in 20 minutes. And they were over here like, oh, I like your hair.
Oh.
And just chatting it up. So it's not just, no, it's not just the trade show itself. It was the environment that I was in.
Okay. Okay. So
You know?
there were some long lasting relationships there. It seemed like they've already established relationships prior to. I mean, over the last several years. This is your first time there. These people, they may have been doing this for years, right? Not just the 3 years that this has been in existence, but they may have been bringing business to the DR for a period of time. So interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of felt like I was, kind of on the outside a little bit. And I talked this over with some other planners that I know. And we had this little group that we felt kind of outside looking in, because they would talk to you, but then they would see their friend and they would move you out the way and say, and meet with them and greet with them. But to your point, you're right. They were doing business long before this trade show.
Okay.
So those relationships were there, and they were truly genuine. I mean, we talk about relationships all the time, but we're talking about, they had a text chat, they had a WhatsApp, they were they're constantly communicating with each other. They're talking about what they're going to do afterwards. And, and I imagine the business gets done as well, too, because they're giving business to each other. So I want to say it was just a cultural difference, the show.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, hey, well, that makes sense. I guess that just, everyone does things differently, and I think the world of like travel advisors, meaning, well, travel agents, travel advisors, is different from
Yeah.
what we do because we got to be a lot more organized because you're dealing with a lot more groups and maybe more corporate associations, so it's a little different. Maybe it can be a little different atmosphere. I'm not sure. Maybe that's, let's say, leisure on that end, more leisure on that end versus corporate and association or incentives. I mean, would you say that's probably the truth? I mean, I'm sure you overheard some of the conversation that were going on. So, I mean, you were
Yeah,
there.
I agree. It was more geared to leisure, but what I liked is that it gave you an in. So if I do have that corporate group, I know to go directly to, the source.
Okay.
And when I tell you they have, more ways to get you what you want, I feel like that was important because, especially booking international, it's different. You're not, there's a time difference and a cultural difference, and you're not, knowing if you're going to get everything, especially if you're not on site. But when I tell you, talking to a lot of these suppliers, they're like, hey, you know what? Contact me directly once you book, and I'll make sure your team has this, and this in place.
Okay.
So I do like being, these shows do, break down that barrier where you get directly to that person. And a lot of these hotels in the DR, there's no corporate, big person that you're trying to get to, like who's on top. It's literally like that front desk person, you know what I mean? So you get that direct access. So being able to identify who that is really a good reason to go to one of these shows, because they're telling me like, hey, bring business however you source, however you. I was like, do I send the RFP to you? They're like, you can if you want. Like the urgency wasn't there, right? They're like, you can if you want, or however you want to do it, but just go ahead. Here's my email, and once it's set up, let me know what you need. If you want to do something offsite, my cousin, he runs this and that, so um, so, I mean, I feel like the resources were good there.
Wow, that's interesting,
Yeah.
and I guess there's no. I mean, I guess we're used to doing this damn near on a monthly basis, right? And we've been doing this for years,
Yeah.
where things are pretty much regimented, right? And then when we go to
Yeah.
somewhere else that maybe it's regimented for them, we just don't understand it. So we're the outside looking in, so to speak. So yeah, so I guess
I
that's
did.
yeah, it's just different. Not no one's right or wrong. It's just different, right? And I guess you just have to, I guess, get in where you fit in where you get in, whatever, one of those two things. Yeah, so well, that's all right.
Agreed.
You learned something. I mean, yeah, you learned something. You got some
Yeah.
takeaways. What takeaways would you have from it?
That, well, just historically, just the country itself. Because in my mind, DR is just, a party destination, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties. But there's it's a beautiful country with a lot of historical aspects to it. And depending where you go, I mean, you have so many different opportunities, which means, you, depending on what group works, you have a city in that country. So I thought it was great for just, knowledge. That was my takeaway.
Okay.
Now I will say this, because I'm a planner. So here's the thing. What we tend to forget, or we don't give a lot of the organizers grace, because how hard is it to put together an event for planners? Because planners, we got to dissect everything. I'm like, why is the lighting off there?
Yes, yes, yes. You're right.
So at our table of planners, I mean, we were like, why do they only have one speaker? They should have a speaker sound system? Why don't they have one on each side? I mean, we were dissecting. So I do understand that it is hard to please all planners because we nitpick, but I have to get into this. A lot of these conferences, a lot of these events do not secure a planner, and it shows. Logistically, just the agenda, the flow of the event. Case in point, we had our closing reception. It said, be downstairs at 6:30. Reception starts at 7:30. We heard the dinner wouldn't start till 8:30. Russell, we ate our food. I kid you not. I timed it at 9:54 p.m. I don't think you would have made it. Honestly, I don't even think you would have sat. 9:54 p.m. was our entree.
Really? No.
Now the salad, because I was timing it. Okay, so dinner started at 8:30. Our salad came out maybe, I don't know, 8:45, 8:50. And we sat for a good 30, 40 minutes, and then the presentation started, and then they did this like dance entertainment before dinner. We hungry. So I think one of my things I was thinking about is, as a conference organizer, manage your attendees' expectation. Give them some notice. Time it out where we will not be eating until 9:50. I mean, you don't have to get that specific, but like dinner will be served at 8:30, because we were there from 6:30, Russell. We were there.
Wow. Wow. And were you there on time? Did you make it on time? Or you didn't? You never left?
What?
Were you there on time, or did you guys ever leave from when you were doing your appointments? Was this all during the same time?
Well, no, this was after the appointments. So the appointments ended at 5:00.
Okay.
And there was a shuttle bus to take you to the off-site venue at 6:30. And I was on time. I got on the bus.
Yay. That's rare.
And I knew. So here's the thing. I knew to eat. I had a little happy hour because, so I knew to eat a little bit beforehand. And I'm telling you, if I didn't, I'd been hangry. But all I'm saying is, like, logistically, we didn't have enough communication. We started in one room to have a cocktail hour, and it was just cocktails. So I would think, have some past hors d'oeuvres or some things, light snacks during cocktail hour. And then we waited, and somebody said, oh, we're not going to go, dinner's on until 8. So we stood outside this other room until they wanted to open the doors at 8:00. So it was just no communication. We were just standing around a lot. So I just think, we tell people, use a planner. It comes in handy because they can manage, logistics between the venue. They can communicate. They can do crowd control. A lot of those things people miss as part of those steps that what logistics means when it comes to events. So, and of course, our table of planners, we were dissecting it.
Of course you were.
So yeah, so that part, it's just helpful. Get some help, professional help. We do this for a living. We do this on a day-to-day. We know what works. We know what doesn't. So,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Would you do it again?
Yeah.
Would you go to this? Whatever it was. Would you go to this program again? This meeting? This conference? Convention? Yes or no?
It's funny. I didn't think I needed to go again when I was in it, but when I took some time to feel like now that I know what it's about, I think I would.
Okay.
I think I would.
Well, it doesn't seem like you need to make appointments. You just show up whenever you show up.
And then man, I know, right? Your appointment was optional, basically.
Because we go to things that are really regimented, right? Like, you need to be here at this time for this amount of time, and they're on a loudspeaker saying you got 2 minutes before this one's over, or you should be going to appointment number 3 or whatever. And they're telling you what you need to do. It doesn't sound like that's like that at all. So I mean, are you obligated to be
Yeah.
at certain places if you don't want to be there? I mean, I don't know if that's good, bad. I guess we came up in that we were raised over there, right? So to us, to us, this is some BS. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess don't compare it to what we're used to because, and think about it, every show is different. Every organizer is different. So we can't compare it to, oh, this ain't like this show, because it's not. What I did miss the content. Like they had some really good topics. Some destinations and AI, something about clients, and I missed all of them. I couldn't figure out where they were. My timing was off. So I would have loved more. I like content when we talk about these things. I don't want to do just appointments all day, because it was 8 to 5 all day. It would have been nice to just cut it off, maybe 8 to 12, and then do some content. And I would have loved networking. Even though it would have been hard. I talked to this woman. She was sitting on the windowsill, and I'm just, how I am. I'm just talking, and she's like smiling. She's like, and then she goes, "I'm so sorry. I'm trying to work on my English," and I'm like, "Oh man, see, I can't even." I couldn't even network properly because I was forcing her to speak English. And she was doing really well because she was asking me if I spoke Spanish. I was like, nah, un poquito, un poquito. No habla, so, but I would have liked to know who was in the room, and we didn't really know that.
Okay.
What else? Because there was no dedicated lunch break. Somebody said there were sandwiches somewhere, and then I think I got impatient and left. And I came back at 1 o'clock. They were like, "Didn't you see the sandwiches?" So I don't know. I don't know if that was lunch break, but it would have been nice to have maybe a networking lunch, or how we do some of these lunch and learns, and like an organized tape. I'll just say this, like you said, we grew up on this very strict. There was not that here. It was do you. It was do you, have the best you want to do. So, which now that I know that, I would prepare.
Next time you know. Next time you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There you go.
I will say, Marriott. Oh man, I'm on the Marriott bandwagon. I recently got status in Marriott, so that's all you're gonna hear me say. But the JW Marriott Marquis, very comfortable, very nice. Appreciate the upgrade, real comfortable. It was nice, and it's right there downtown Miami. Feel like it was a good location. Had their little rooftop pool. Oh yeah,
Okay.
comfortable.
You're right at home then.
But I like a little pool, right?
Yeah, we know, we know. Okay, so from there you went somewhere else, right?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I did. I went to. I did. So went to Fort Lauderdale. Excuse me. Hold on. All right. So this is what happened. I was like, I'm in Miami. I want to tack on a couple days and relax. And then I looked at those Miami hotel prices, and I was like, oh no, I can't do it. So I was like, what about Fort Lauderdale? So I reached out to a hotel contact at Fort Lauderdale that I met at IPAC, the Sheraton Suites in Fort Lauderdale. Did you meet with them?
A gentleman. I can't think of what his name is, but yes, I can picture him.
Yes.
Yes.
His name is Barry.
Barry.
And I knew he was going to be legit because when we had our appointment, he was like, "This is what you need to do."
I'm sorry.
He was like, "This is." No, me and Barry, we're friends now. Yeah. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey Barry, I am thinking about coming in Fort Lauderdale. Love to check out your hotel. Got any rooms for me?" So I end up staying there. It's the Sheraton in it's actually called Cypress. I think it's called at Cypress. So it's right outside Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Okay.
So
And
yeah.
how was the experience? How was it?
Well, it's not a JW Marriott Marquis, but no, it was great. It was comfortable. So I
It
get
was
there,
comfortable.
and so the Sheraton, it's an old embassy suite. So it has the atrium in
Okay.
the
Okay.
middle,
Yeah.
and it has the suites, hotels. It's kind of like the hotels you grew up on. It's kind of the tried and true,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Um, I felt it was a comfortable stay. I did look into it in my different group eyes, not so much as corporate, but as a get the family together, this will be a really great hotel. A good social group, this will be a really good hotel. They were pretty busy. They had I believe a soccer team that was in house and a couple other groups. And I also looked at it as a for a future program because just for basic meeting space.
Mm.
So I stayed there and I arranged a site tour the next day with Barry. And when I tell you, and we talk about this all the time, the importance of site tours, because it really encapsulates who you're going to be working with. And when I tell you, Barry just kept saying whatever you want, I was like, music to my ears. um, I was like, can we do this? If we do that, he says, absolutely. So I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that this would be a good working relationship if we, work together on a future program. Um, what I will say is that they are doing some renovations.
Okay.
And so I'd be looking forward to seeing it after renovations. They're kind of updating what their meetings and events space looks like, and they're redoing their rooms. Barry set me up in a really comfortable room, one of the updated rooms. And I had a cute little like welcome gift and my name. See, I like that. I like when I'm like welcomed and I see my name on the TV. So, it was like, welcome,
Oh,
Mrs.
way to go,
English.
Barry. Way to go, Barry.
And I had a little note card that said, we're so glad you're here. And I'm like, thank you. I do feel like you are glad that I'm here. But you know what though? And people always say, "Oh gosh, it's about you." No, honestly, I like to see that stuff because now I see that you can do that for my groups. Now I can see that if I have a VIP, that there can be this nice amenity waiting for them. So I like how they get to showcase that for me because then I get to in turn show that for a group of mine. But I will say, very comfortable. They had an outdoor pool. And when I tell you this was like the community family reunion pool, everybody hung out there. Russell, I was at that pool for hours. Hours. And it wasn't now mind you, I love the JW Marriott. It was nice. They had a nice little infinity pool. But this pool was your neighborhood pool where people were ordering pizza. You would grab a drink. Nobody was worried about no outside food or anything. They were just like, do you? So it was a comfortable like environment. People had the little beach balls. There were kids out there playing. And the weather, oh my God, the weather right now is great in South Florida. No humidity. So it was just nice to be out there. And honestly, like I would definitely stay there again. Oh, and it's free parking. So I think it's a really good hotel location for people driving in
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm. Okay.
want
Okay.
to make that their stop and then maybe take a Uber to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and the rates were reasonable, so I feel like that is a good alternative location if you don't want to stay right there in Fort Lauderdale and pay those prices. So I appreciate my stay and the hospitality that came with it.
Very good. Very good. All right, Barry.
Yeah.
Give Barry a shout out. Shout out to Barry at the, the Sheraton, right?
Me and Barry are friends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see him again at the end of the month because he'll be at Connect. We already confirmed that. So
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
yeah,
I
he'll
won't be
be.
there. I won't be there.
And Barry gets it because he likes to spend time building and growing these relationships. So that's his motto, and I love that sales managers when they get that. That's who I want to be around.
Yeah, that's how it should be because everybody doesn't have business for you right then, and it's all about the building relationships. It's the later. It's maybe down the road a little bit. Maybe you'll have something for them, but you won't remember those people if they don't want to form a relationship. So
Right.
kudos to Barry for doing the thing, doing the doggone thing, and doing it right. I mean that's how it should be. So yeah, so good. So I'm glad that
Okay.
everything seemed to have gone well during your trip, although it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, but it ended up being
Right.
okay. It's just that it's a different.
Yeah.
We come from different worlds, obviously. Obviously, we come to the travel advisor world and the meeting planner or meeting event planner world. So there's two different things. And every now and then, those
Definitely.
worlds do come together and collide. And we got to experience what they experience, and they experience a little bit of us. You know what I mean? So no, not that one is better than the other. Not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that it's different, and we just have to embrace it
Yeah.
and keep it moving. Learn from both and keep it moving. And try not to dissect things as a planner, right? Because that's what the planners
It's gonna
do.
happen.
They
It's
want to
gonna
dissect
happen.
everything. Well, they should do this. Why didn't they do that? And I can't believe we had to wait for this and that. And oh my God,
9:54.
I can only
9:54.
imagine. I can only imagine that conversation at that table. Okay. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. 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 Right.
Wow. Wow.
But you
Who's
know what? Okay. As much as we talk and nitpick, it makes you better because it makes me aware of things that I can look out for my events. I can make sure that there's someone doing, agenda or crowd control. So you call it nitpicking, I call it research.
whatever? I know how those conversations go. So no, it's nitpicking. You call it you can tie it up however you want. But yeah, no, it's nitpicking because, like I said, I don't even know who was there at that table, but I guarantee you, if they
But
were
you just
anything
know.
like you, I know them.
No, no. Well, yeah, you probably do. You know everybody.
I don't think I know everybody, but I just know if there was
You know
a group of planners
everybody.
and event planners, yeah, they were being nitpicky. It was no damn
Yeah.
doing their research or whatever. No, they just nitpicking. Yeah, but that's okay. That's what we do sometimes. Some
Yeah.
of us do it better than others. But anyway, okay. So what's going on this week? Anything?
What is going on this week?
I don't know. Today's Monday.
Today is Monday. So you know what? And I feel like I say this all the time. It's these events are great, but then it's the follow up.
Okay, this is when the work starts.
That's where the work starts because you were over here grilling me at what hotels will work, and I can't remember. Now I got to go in. I did my little asterisk by them, so I want to go there and put that together.
Did you link in with those people? You got business cards? Are you gonna link in with them on LinkedIn?
Oh, that's what I should do, shouldn't I?
Yeah, we've
I was
talked
just going
about
to
this
add
before.
them.
We
I know, but I
add
was going to
them,
add them to
connect
my
with them,
CRM.
whatever. I mean, what do you do with the cards any other way? I mean, do you have a CRM system? Did you put them in? Put their names in?
That's what I was going to do. Yeah.
Oh, so you do use a CRM system?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That was convincing
The
right there.
answer the answer is yes. I
Okay,
mean, I
okay.
have one.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I use a CRM system as well,
Russell,
Salesforce.
it is Q2. Happy second quarter. We're gonna do things right this quarter. So yes,
Okay,
I'm doing my follow up. I'm doing my CRM. I'm doing my emails. So yes, I'm gonna be
okay,
better at it.
okay. No, that's good. That sounds wonderful. Like you said, the work starts now, and for both parties. I mean, for people that you met with and you, the work starts now, where you want to
Yeah.
continue the relationship. You want to connect with
Right.
people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my choice. Okay. CRM system, I put everything in there just in case something comes up, and I put notes in there as well. Met them at this conference, blah 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 blah. Any kind of correspondence you have, I copy and paste it into my CRM, so I remember every conversation that we had. So yeah, so the work does start now for both parties. But it's for the hotel people or for the DMC people. It's all about what's the next step for them? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna continue to keep in touch with you or continue the relationship going? Um,
Right.
it's up to them, but I mean it's really up to both parties on how you're gonna do this. So, but anyway, okay, it sounds good. Hey, whatever you do, you do. Whatever
Okay.
works for you, just do you. Okay. Right.
Yes. So right back at you. What's on this week? What you got going on
Man,
this week?
that's a good question. I have some stuff. I don't know what it is, but I
Mm-hmm.
got some stuff. No, just following up on some last minute requests for some what do you call them? RFPs I had to send out. So I got to follow up. I know while I've been on this thing, I got a couple responses. So I got to go through and look at my responses and send those to my clients, and then we go from there. So that's just a process for people that are just listening or don't know what I'm talking about. You start off with a RFP, send it to
RFP.
yeah, RFP request for proposal, and send that to via this platform that we use that goes to the hotel partners and our CVB partners. They respond back, and then I compile this report or whatever, and then send it off to my client. And then the client,
Okay.
looks at them, and if they have questions, they, of course, they contact me and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What is this? What is that? Whatever." And then we go from there, and then hopefully they make a decision. You know what I mean? But it always comes
Right.
back with questions, and then maybe I need to follow up more with one specific hotel that they're interested in. So I'll, like, okay, I'm interested in this one, and a lot of time it's due to the rate, right? So I'll, go and ask more questions. Transportation, and it's always some transportation questions in there somewhere, and then we go from there. So yeah, so those are things that I work on today. I mean, work on this week, as well as
Okay.
some accounting things that that's kind of a weekly thing where my receipts and invoices that I get back. Maybe somebody paid me something. I got to log all that stuff in. So I make sure I do that at least once a week, and for that. So yeah, so just more of that accounting stuff, more office work this week than anything.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Admin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'll go check out a couple hotels here. Like last week, I was at the Sunset Marquis, which is in West Hollywood. Excuse me. Had breakfast with um, a friend of mine who's actually a content creator. So a content creator slash
Oh.
influencer or whatever they call themselves sometimes. So I had breakfast with her because she was at the
Russell, that
Sunset
is
Marquis.
hard work.
Oh yeah.
Okay. People I don't know if people understand content creator because I'm so behind and just doing basic blogs. So creating content is hard.
Yeah, no, hey, I know. But yeah, so
It is
yeah, so
hard.
she invited me. She was
Okay.
invited there, so she invited me to come, and we had breakfast and just look at the property and take some photos. And I posted some stuff already on my IG and all that stuff. So
So you created some content while you were
yeah,
there?
of course, I always do.
Okay.
I always do. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I don't waste time when it comes to that. I mean, because it's gonna benefit somebody at some point. So I always want to
Yeah.
make sure I let people know where I am. Not, maybe not in real time, but I always make sure that people know that where I have been at least, especially when it comes to LA. Because one thing about LA right now is there's some people that don't realize that LA is open for business. Right? It's been open for business because because of
Yeah.
the fires and all the stuff. They think that there's
Hmm.
the after effects of the fire, which in some areas, yeah, that's true. But most 90% of 95% of LA has been open and never closed. So like West Hollywood,
Okay.
Hollywood, all those places are still going. They're still operational. They never shut down. So just want to make sure that people know that LA is open, right? West Hollywood, Sunset Marquis, it's still there. It's still a beautiful hotel. And if you've never been there, you need to check it out, even if it's just for breakfast. So a lot of history there. I didn't realize a lot of music history at
Hmm.
that particular hotel. So yeah, so if you're into the
Okay.
music scene, things like that, that's kind of a hotel where a lot of studio people, execs or whatever, even the talent or whatever, they stay at that hotel. So
Okay.
it's kind of cool. I didn't realize they had a studio there. I'm like, damn, I didn't know that. So there's a lot of little tunnels and
Huh.
underground stuff that's there that people don't even know. So, but yeah, it's a cool place.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds cool.
yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, we've been on here about 50 minutes, Miss Tiffany. You just,
Okay.
you just long-winded today. What the hell?
Well, I had to give you a sufficient recap, and I didn't want to miss anything. So,
Well, you
yeah.
definitely did. And you're definitely very thorough. We appreciate that. Uh, Tiffany is my guest host every Monday for the daily check-in. So we had to rename it. The daily check-in with and she wanted her name first with Tiffany and Russell. I don't know how that worked
Oh,
out, but anyway.
is
So
my name first?
what is let's see. No, my name's first now. Sorry, but anyway. It's
I'll
still
take what
fun.
I can get.
Yeah,
That's
of
all
course,
right.
of course.
It's okay.
So what do you, okay, so hopefully next week you got something. Are you going anywhere this week? Are you going anywhere? Did I ask it already?
No, no,
Well,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm sure you'll come up with something for next Monday.
I got,
So
I got something for us. I mean, we can. There's so many topics. I got something for us.
okay, all right. Well, don't tell me now. I mean, unless there's something I need to get prepared for. Okay.
Nah,
You just want to
nah. You
surprise
know
me.
how you do. You can talk about anything.
You just want to surprise me. Okay, that's fine. I'm all about a surprise, and I'll make it up if I don't if I'll just make something
We
up.
know.
So
We know.
but anyway, thank you so much, Miss Tiffany. Now, for people that didn't know, I'm on the West Coast. I'm in Los Angeles, and Tiffany's in the Carolinas. So we're no longer. Well, I mean, we're not.
Telling you.
I said you're in the Carolinas. I didn't say where you were. I didn't give addresses and all that stuff. Okay. I said you're in the Carolinas. I'm in California. So why I'm saying that is you can collaborate with people all over the world, right? That's what it's all about. It's all about collaboration. It's all about getting together. Although Tiffany and I, we do see each other at these conferences. A lot of times, what do we do when we're not at the conference? This is what we do. We do things on LinkedIn and YouTube to keep things going, to let people know that she is out there. She was just in Florida, doing the DR thing. I'm here in LA doing whatever I do in LA, right? So we still do things and we still have to put out content. And this is putting out content, right? So contrary to what people think, when you do these lives, it's all about content, right? It's about talking about the industry, talking about what we do. So regardless if we're together or not, we can still create content. We can still, somewhat be together or collaborate and all that stuff. So there you go. That's it. So
Sounds good.
any parting words, just Miss Tiffany English?
I think you said enough for the both of us. And until next week, I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Bye.